welcome back to Breakdown, by the way. People like a wee introduction, but how are you, mate?
Good, you? You recovered for your skiing trip?
First time skiing.
I thought you'd been before.
Never been before, no. First time ever. So, Alana, my wife, loves skiing. She skied for a young age with school and all that stuff. She knows how to ski. She's been desperate to go. So we went.
Brilliant.
Yeah, her birthday's Christmas Day, so I kind of got her a trip away for.
That's an expensive time.
I know. That's her birthday and Christmas, obviously, at the same time. So
you have a good time?
We went, we survived. But mate, I can't believe how hard skiing is.
I know, it's no fun, man.
Like tall and lanky, I know, and I expected to just sort
Did you get lessons?
No, I just went straight in. Alana was trying to deliver a few lessons, but they were terrible. That caused a couple of arguments. But
going through a divorce on this.
You're not listening to me. I said, no, you're not delivering the message right. You know what I mean? Similar to when I was doing a bit of coaching.
Communication and coaching, mate.
Mate, I'm no joking you though, right? I swear to God, Tomo. It's the scaredest I've ever been. I can't remember a time in my life where I was this scared. I was coming down a hill, and a lot of time I was falling, but at this point, it got to a point where I was just straight down. You're meant to go side to side to keep the pace slower. And I've just went, one point, just straightened my skis up and just went, right? But see, within about 20, 30 yards, 40 yards even, I was going too fast to just fall. So that was my thing. I knew that if I was ever scared, I'll just fall.
I can just
right?
picture you.
And my ski comes off and you're all right. You can just make your way down the hill, right? I just went, mate, I just went for it. But I was at the point where I was like, oh no, I'm too fast to stop, to fall, and I can't stop. So I just kept going. I just kept getting faster and faster. And I'm no joking. Like,
and how
I was
did you stop?
chalk white. I was chalk white just looking like this. I went straight past my son who was there. He was stood watching going, what's he doing? Straight past him. Like, no way, it's fight or flight. You're like, I'm dying here if I fall. So I just kept my foot in my skis, went, you've no other choice but to just hang on and hope.
Life.
And I saw a pole wrapped in like fucking cushion. And I went, that's my safest option. So I was heading straight for the pole. There was a big block of like ice that had been put up to the side, like snowy ice. And I just went straight for it. And as I got to it, I tried to turn sideways, and that sort of made me stop, and I crashed into the ice. And then I was still on my feet and I faced back towards the hill.
Panic.
Mate, I just was like, like, you know, chalk white, so scared. My son came out to me and he was like, you alright? And I was like, I'm chalk white. And he just howling, laughing like a proper belly laugh. Anyway, football, what a weekend.
Title race.
Oh, wow, mate. It's not over yet for me. It's not.
You meaning over for Celtic?
It's not over for Celtic.
Oh, no.
As in, 6 points, you still able to claw that back. But what did you think of the game?
Obviously, I was at Ibrox, wasn't I? So I've only managed to watch wee bits back, all the aftermath, and obviously the goals, incidents, loads to talk about. Obviously, I've seen Boydie's bits, I've seen McInnes's bits after the game, I've seen obviously the confrontation.
We'll start with the sending off then. What's your honest opinion on it?
Initially, when I first seen obviously the clip, I thought, yellow card. I thought the way the ball was going, I thought the angle that he was going at, I thought the recovery potentially would have been there for Scales.
Yeah.
Just because of the angle of the ball. But then the subjective part of that is that he's a flying machine. He straightens up and he hits a shot. I think VAR, I know it's there to be, my humble opinion about it is it's there to be obviously used and utilised for the goodness of the game, but I think it takes a wee bit of the, how do I word it right, that it doesn't look as though like if it's not the right decision they can't go back and fix it. But I thought Stevie McGlynn got his decision right at the time, and then when you go back and look at it, the same as I've had a chance to go back and look at it numerous times and then take my time to divulge it, to look at it, I think I'm overturning it to potentially a red card might have been the right decision. But live, when I first seen it, I thought straight away, I just thought it was a yellow card.
So what do you think? Red card, right decision?
I think the more I watched it, and the more I had the chance to see that he could straighten up, they could hit a shot in it. This is the part that I think is quite intriguing, that like there's no rule that says that if you're 20 yards for goal or 30 yards for goal, or the angle's harder, that it doesn't then mean that it's an easier chance to score.
Dave, what is the rule, Dave?
So there's 4 key components that the referee looks at. The first
Amazing
one
that
is...
it would be complicated. There's not just one, there's always 3 or 4.
Let's hear them.
Yeah, so the first one is distance to goal, close enough to be a real chance, direction of play, attacker moving towards goal, likelihood of control, attacker has or will have the ball, and then the defenders, no covering defender able to challenge.
Okay, so for me, he was going away for goal. The angle of the ball is going away for goal. The time Dane Murray recovers, using my experience and watching it for somebody that in real time, Dane Murray's in full stride. If Dane Murray Dane Murray's going to get there before the ball's inside the box, for me. So he's going to have to beat Dane Murray to get a shot away. I don't think it's a clear goal scoring opportunity. I think if you pause it and you look where the ball is and you look where it looks like he's through and goal, I don't think he is through and goal. I think he's getting caught and he's going away for goal. In order for him to chop that back towards goal and face the goalie 1v1, a real goal scoring opportunity, which is the key thing, I don't think it's a sending off. I think Stephen McGlynn was bang on, and I think for the amount of games he's refereed, what he felt and saw at that moment was bang on. But what's really hard for referees is the atmosphere at Tynecastle, getting surrounded by players, and then the final one when VAR, when you get asked to go and watch that again, you start to question yourself because you then assume that the people in the VAR room don't feel it was the correct decision.
Yeah, well,
so as soon as
I think they're there to assist, to give you, to make sure that you've made the right decision, and that's why it's there to assist, to then get to watch it back, because obviously he's seen it as live as we are, as in the stand. So I think the flip of that is
it's almost like one of them where they're going, well, you might want to have a wee look at that.
Well,
instead of going,
we're obviously no subject to that, obviously audio. Do you know what I mean? John Booting could be as simple as saying, Stephen, listen, it looks as though he's potentially going through and goal. You've made the call of making that yellow card. Is it worth having another look? Stephen McGlynn can turn around and say no. He can also go to the footage and look at it, and then the decision that he's made, i.e. a yellow card, he can stick with it. There's no rule that he goes and looks at the footage. He's obviously then seen the footage a bit like what I've probably done and thought, I think I listened to Jay
while he's looking at the footage as well, by the way, don't underestimate the Hearts fans are giving him loads.
Aye, but come
and
on,
that's some.
It wouldn't be any different if it was at Celtic Park and it was a Hearts player.
No,
You'd
of
expect
course.
Callum McGregor, and it's the nature of the beast, really. Do you know what I mean? It's the competitive part of, if me and you were playing and that scenario happened and you were on the receiving end and your player was going through, if Boydie was going through one-on-one with the goalkeeper or had an opportunity to go through and you had clipped his heels like what Trusty done, we would be exactly the same. You'd be pleading innocence. You would be hoping that
Boydie would take 15 minutes to get through in the goal, but
Boydie would score for there, I know that. But I'm saying it as if I'm sitting on the fence a wee bit. I thought when I initially seen it, because I was obviously at Ibrox, I thought it was a yellow card. I thought the more I watched it, and probably the more I've seen loads and listen, near enough every single person's had an opinion on it, but the more I looked at it, I thought that it could easily have been a red card.
Nah, it's a.
Because I'm not so sure any of the back line do catch him because of his momentum. I think he's taken a yard or two off of Trusty just with the angle that he's run, so he's definitely going to get to the ball first. He could have took a bad touch, but that's irrelevant. He could have missed his shot, that's irrelevant. I still think he's getting the ball first, and then whatever his next touch looks like, he could have shot first time.
But do you think that's a goal scoring opportunity for 20 yards?
Aye, for 20 yards, I think it is a goal scoring opportunity. I'm not saying it's not a difficult one, and it's not a hard one, and the angle wasn't perfect, but there isn't a rule to say that if the angle's a wee bit tighter, or it's a wee bit more difficult, or it's a wee bit further for goal. Like 20 yards, like you can score for 20 yards. If it was another 10, 15 yards further back, I would say that the flip of that would give the defender and the recovered defenders a wee bit more that split second to get back. Probably for 35 yards or 40 yards or whatever it may be for goal would be more difficult to score. But same again, it's not about how difficult it is to score. It's about, is it a goal scoring opportunity? He's running through on the Celtic goal. It's hard to get away from the fact that it was a goal scoring opportunity for me.
See, I don't think it is a goal scoring opportunity. I don't think.
That's a hard angle, but that's like saying that we never see goals for a hard angle.
But then you could argue MD that's 20 yards out or 25 yards out is a goal scoring opportunity, and if you foul him, he should be sent off.
Well, no, because there could be potentially 7 defenders goal side of the ball, whereas there was 8 defenders goal side of the ball, and he's getting the ball first, and there wouldn't have been a green and white jersey.
So can we just go on the board a wee minute here, just to kind of just to have a wee look at what it looks like. So roughly that's what it looks like. The personnel's different, obviously, because Scales is then at left back at this point, but. So if the ball is coming through here and the foul happened, would you say the foul happened like there?
Yeah, give or take. Obviously the ball would be further, wouldn't it? Because the ball obviously gets knocked.
So the balls will be here. That's about right, isn't it?
Obviously it's Trusty instead of Scales all the way around, but that doesn't matter.
No, it's this is Dane Murray at the time. I'm sure. I'm sure that's Dane Murray. I'm sure Scales is playing left back at the time. And this is Trusty. So Trusty fouls the boy here. The ball's here, and Dane Murray's here. Would that be right? Would you say?
It's no far away. I wouldn't say Dane Murray is further than the incident. I would say he's parallel with it. And I'm not so sure Dane Murray. Irrelevant whether how quick he is, but I'm not so sure anyone, unless he was Usain Bolt's getting to the ball before.
He's not getting to the ball before.
Striker,
my argument is, right, that he's in full stride, so he's took about 3 or 4 strides, right? So within the time Kabori gets to the ball, in that time, he gets a clean run at it. As he's moving that distance, I'm saying Murray's getting to at least there.
I think if Trusty doesn't trip him, Dane Murray would probably, his momentum would be going to the ball like a good defender, and then Trusty would then obviously tuck in behind, and you would expect.
So now in this scenario here,
but I'm still not so sure he gets that close to looking like he's going to be back goal side of the ball before.
And bearing in mind he's got to get there. The ball's not moving. It's not like the ball's moving here and he's coming there. Because then you're having a different conversation.
No, but
he's moving that way and the ball's coming that way.
He's in top flow.
Yeah.
And his stride's broken by the contact. He Trusty, obviously.
So if he's in top flow and he gets to the ball here,
you see me be pushing that ball further to the touchline.
If he gets to the ball here,
it's not in the wheat field, by the way. The ball, the ball was going towards the goal.
But here's a key. Here's a key thing, right? You understand this? He's running full force that way, right? The same thing happened with Jigger at the start of the season. If we can get it up, we'll show.
The Jigger one, I think it's a straight red. I don't think you can have any complications because of there was no recovering defenders.
And the ball was going straight towards goal.
And the ball was going, it was at a slightly different angle. But he still had a long way to go, obviously, to get to goal, to get his shot off, to potentially square up Jack Butland and goal. Yeah. But I still think that clutching at straws a wee bit of that he wasn't going to go and get a shot off and it wasn't a goal scoring opportunity. So
his touch would need to be, for me, as he goes here, his first touch would need to be back towards that way.
I just think he just has to straighten up. I think
so just till he straightens up. Okay, so see by the time he gets there and 2 of them are like that, right? We'll say put him back a wee bit.
So he straightens up for his first touch.
So he straightens up his first touch here. But the point he takes that touch, that split second that he needs to take that touch, there you've got that there.
I think you're insinuating that his first touch he needs to slow down. I think he can take his first touch at
and his stride,
but
he's changing the direction of the ball.
I know, but but bear in mind he's got almost 15 yards to get to the ball to straighten his feet up, to adjust his body shape, to take his first touch, to straighten up, to then hit. I think.
Would you say if he gets a shot for here, right? If he gets a clean shot for there, that's a real goal scoring opportunity.
Aye, because obviously you've made Dane Murray look as though he's going to get to the ball, but if Dane Murray's doesn't get to the ball and he hits a shot for where that ball is in that position, I would argue that we're clutching at straws because we don't know what type of touch he takes. He could have took a poor touch. He could have slowed down and allowed Dane Murray to get back goal side and then squared them up and tried to take him on and score. You could then say, but we're flying a kite really.
Yeah.
Off what we think could happen, which is irrelevant, I suppose. Added to debate, which is great because obviously we've got a different opinion on it. But I think he gets I think even if he doesn't take a great touch, I still think he puts himself in a position that he's approaching the Celtic goal. He's broke the back line, he's got in behind. Celtic are scrambling back to their goal. Trusty's made an error in judgment, really. Got his feet tangled, he's paid the price for it. And I'm contradicting myself a wee bit because live, when I first seen it, I thought yellow card.
Yeah.
But the more I've watched it, the more I see as though, like, I think it's hard to get away from it. It was a goal scoring opportunity.
I think
Listen, a difficult one, but a difficult one is knowing the rule book.
I think in this exact example, the slowing down and watching the still pictures takes away the moment. I think the moment you can see the recovering defender, like Stephen McGlynn saw, he should have stuck with his decision. So I think it was a bad decision. But let's
talk about the game.
What about Dale's? I'm going to agree, but what about Dale's comments on Celtic don't receive domestic red cards?
I know. I thought it was a proper wee dig on it. It was a wee punch in the ribs. Questioning kind of the integrity, I suppose. But listen, Dale's long enough in the tooth. I would never question him as a manager. Really, it's I'd feel disrespectful to him. But he's I think he's played the game a wee bit there.
What's he suggesting?
Yeah, listen, he's suggesting that Celtic obviously didn't get red cards, but.
The facts are, correct me if I'm wrong here, Dave, but Celtic's last sending off was at Tynecastle, and it was Yang a couple of years ago.
It's a world record.
Is that a world record?
Aye.
What's the time?
I think it's 87 games, domestic games, without a red card, or something like that. I'm not
So Dale's comments and what he says in isolation is Celtic don't get red cards domestically. Paul's questioning that there.
And is that...
Right, so that's true.
So it's true.
What he says is true, if it's a world record. But not one bit of me thinks the referees are favouring Celtic by not sending them off.
No,
I don't think any ref goes into the game going, oh, this is Celtic, we can't make a sending off here. I think it's just the way things have panned out. I didn't
disagree, but I thought the new signing, the fullback, could easily got a red card against Dundee United just a couple of weeks ago for his tackle. I thought it was rash. I thought it was a lunge. Would it have had a bearing in the game? Celtic were 2-0 up at the time. He obviously comes out his pocket, flies into a tackle. Thought it was rash. Could easily have been a red card, especially when you see the slow-mos nowadays. But listen, I was a tackler, so I didn't want to see the lad get sent off.
No, I don't think it was a sending off.
And I would rather the game be played 11v11. And but listen, it is what it is. You make mistakes, teams get punished. It's people's livelihoods. If the rule book is there that you make a tackle or you get caught last man and you make a foul, then
I think there's context to it as well. So it's a world record, right? But also Celtic are playing, and if you think of the last 2 years, Celtic have absolutely dominated possession in loads of the games they've been in. So you're not having as much time as to tackle and have to defend as much. No. So there's reasons behind that. I don't think for 1 minute. I think what Dale says in his context is Celtic don't get red cards domestically. It's hard to say that's not true because that's what the case has been, but I don't think it's because it's Celtic or because anybody's cheating. That's my opinion.
No, I totally agree. I think I don't see that either. And it's not a counter argument of that's why that would be one of the things that I would look at, that Celtic dominate the ball. You think an Ange Postecoglou team, high energy, but then the flip of that is the counter press that Celtic used to do under Ange Postecoglou was brilliant. Mm-hmm. The counter press, you normally need to make contact. To stop opposition teams breaking on you, you sometimes need to know the dark arts. You need to be cute. You need to be clever. You sometimes need to stop the game. You don't always win the ball back, if you know what I mean. So I think it's so intriguing that there's ways of seeing whichever way you want. What I would say is it was, for the bits that I've seen, obviously a brilliant competitive game of football. Probably suited Hearts. I thought they really made it difficult for Celtic, and you could argue the job that he's done, the narrative that's building alongside Hearts, still top of the league, still undefeated against Old Firm this season. 2 wins against Celtic, 2 wins against Rangers. Rangers obviously on the horizon. Fair play to them.
I think watching the game, my assessment of the game is Celtic get dragged into a fight.
They didn't want to fight, did they?
And they didn't want to fight in terms of they tried to play. When I say fight, I mean play long balls, fight for seconds. I don't know why they get dragged into doing what Hearts do. Hearts are brilliant at what they do. They play forward passes early. They get up for second balls. They turn into a scrap. They get throw-ins. They get free kicks. They get Celtic filled Hearts. Hearts won 22 free kicks. Celtic won 12. It's like Hearts are clever in what they do. They get the ball in that half. They play for free kicks and corners. And when you look at the Hearts team, so you've got Magnuson, Halkett, Finlay, you've got Millen, you've got 4 right away. You can add O'Sheen on McAtee in there. You can add McCart in there. Obviously, Braga wires about the box. Is about the box, but in terms of aggression in the Celtic team, who have you got to head it? Who have you got to head it in the box? You've got Trusty, Scales, Tierney will try and do a job to a certain extent. Van Cara has come in and done a bit. Celtic zonally, we'll show a picture of this actually. Celtic zonally had Van Cara, Trusty, Scales and Tierney in a zonal area. Now, a Martin O'Neill team likes to go zonal and likes to zonal mark. I don't think Celtic got the players to zonal mark. I love zonal marking, but I think you need to have players. I love zonal marking for corners, but I think you've got the players that are willing to head the ball. I think the isolated Kieran Tierney and Engels at the back post for the short Finlay goal. All you need is you're putting your 3 or 4 best headers across the 6-yard box, and they've got 5 or 6 players that can go and head it.
I like responsibility, me set plays.
Do you like, man? Because see, as a small player, you can get up against a big player and sort of put them off.
Right.
I think zonal marking, you're relying heavily on your players going and attacking the ball.
I think it's a personal preference in it, but it's just something that I got brought up. Listen, I was obviously not a defender, and I wasn't great in the air by any stretch of imagination, and I know you obviously were. So, but I think back to like a Davy Weir being right in the middle of the 6-yard box and then having people picking up.
Yeah.
And it was even when I was mentioning Kelty again, even when I was at Kelty, Jordan Foster, Tam O'Wares, like I was specific with them. Your responsibility, your man.
Yeah. Did you pick up in the box?
No, but I went through different. So I went through being like a front post man, a front area man, which I never overly liked. A back post man. There was a time where Tony Mowbray, when we had Rob Jones, who obviously used to go in the middle of the 6-yard box, 6'7", magnet to the ball, obviously brilliant in the air. Tony was the first one that we used to like. I think like a Webby, Stephen Presley, that big Hearts team that Craig Levine had, they would filter into the box, and our job would be to block them. But then you probably didn't get away with now that I was never going to go and beat Webby in the air. Just
to be clear on the front area man, because I don't think a lot of people know what that is.
So like a front area man. That
if a corner's coming for here, corner's coming for this
non-negotiable, side, doesn't he move?
He stays there and nothing comes in there. Doesn't he pick MD up?
Normally just blocks that. I like somebody on the back post because I always think in swingers, but a lot of teams don't put anyone on the back post anymore.
Aye, but every team I would say has got a front area man, isn't he?
Aye.
He stays in the front area.
The guy on the front post wouldn't, and the front guy on the guy in the front post would normally go short if it was a short corner.
Yeah,
I liked the opposite. I was a wee bit different in the respect that I liked the back post man, and if it was an out swinger, I'd ask him to creep forward to the front post.
Aye.
If it was an in swinger, I'd get him to stay. If they decided to go short, I would have him creep along the line. If they didn't go short, then I would ask him to retract and go back in the back post. It was kind of role that I'd done.
Yeah.
So you I suppose it was just something that I liked.
When I look at the game, mate, I think like there's one thing we can actually show it here. Jamie McCart in the second half takes a touch and then plays it up the line, and the camera goes straight to Dell. I don't know if you saw it, and he shouts, Jamie, first time. You see him clear as day saying, do it first time. So I think that gives you insight exactly what Hearts were doing. Hearts were just going kick and rush.
I think Derek McInnes will have wanted his team, and rightly so, is to make Celtic know that they've been in a game, to make them defend, to make them deal with balls that make them uncomfortable.
Sniff blood for Trusty. Trusty was all over the place after putting Kizaridis in goal with the ball over the top. Went to play it back. Kizaridis threw in goal. For that moment, for me, Trusty was. I thought it was poor.
In the next part, not to be too complimentary to Derek and his team, but no Shanklin, no Beningame, no Cammy Devlin, and still managed to go toe to toe. It wasn't a purist games of football when it comes to watching Barcelona or whatever, but it's the game that we love. It's the passion, the another twist turn, loads to talk about. The Derek McInnes having a wee pop at Fozzie. I just think it had a wee bit of everything, didn't it? I think it's brilliant. Me, I love it.
Who wins a scrap there, Dell or Fozzie?
I thought he's got a bit of boot on, but Dell's a wee toughie, isn't he? So I think Dell would.
Fozzie would be so intense, but wouldn't he?
But listen, he's got a few to back him up. Big Mick and that in there. That would be it'd be an interesting.
Right.
I think we should get a charity bout. Derek McInnes v Fozzie.
Right, let's have a wee look at Hearts. Just having a wee look at Hearts to show the viewer kind of a wee visual on what they're doing, understanding what fight and what picking up second balls is. This is what they've done, and this was obviously the game plan. They've seen a weakness, they smelt blood and Celtic. Braga, Miller and Keziridis know where the ball's going, they're up for second balls, getting goal side of Celtic's midfield, getting throw-ins.
In good areas of the pitch.
Getting them up the pitch, simple but effective. Again, nothing complicated. Forward, getting up against it, picking up seconds, turning into a scrap.
Making Celtic defend the one.
Making Celtic defend, they don't want to do it. Engels, Nygren, they're not up for a fight. They tried to play Hearts at Hearts' game. Now, here we go. Here's an example. Celtic when the last time you seen Celtic from this area here put the ball in the box?
I never.
Look, so
it'd already been played, wouldn't it?
In the past, Trusty would have dropped off and they would have played because that's Celtic's game. They don't have fighters. They don't have people. What are you kicking this to?
Bread and butter, that for Hearts.
Van Cara, he's fighting up there. He's I don't think it suits Celtic. The next one, mate, this is a prime example. I don't think they were brave enough to play their game. Look at that pass to Nygren that's on there. So Celtic are caught between. Schmeichel just blasts it forward. Look at the three midfielders.
Stretched, isn't it?
Far too stretched. So the midfielders are looking to play short. Schmeichel bangs it long.
That was always one thing that used to frustrate me when I played, was that if you're playing a team that passes it and then there's a bit of animosity and you've obviously dropped into a position. I'm using Callum McGregor as an example. He drops in to try and find the ball and then all of a sudden it gets banged. It's impossible for him to cover the 50-60 yards to then affect the game.
Trusty could have dropped out here to play, but his arses went, he's stopped, and then Schmeichel's just kicked it forward. Now I'm not judging Trusty, I've been there before myself.
just a wee bit.
I've been there before myself though. Your confidence is low and you think, oh no, I'm just going to no show here. Ball gets kicked long. Celtic, for me, there's again, McGregor's telling Schmeichel to play. Schmeichel just bangs it long.
Apart from Callum in that team. And he never had his best game, did he, to be fair to him? But
he's relying on centre-halves and goalkeepers to play for the back. And Celtic are just banging it along because they've got a big striker. Look at the Hearts, amount of Hearts players run about that, second balls, and just pick it up. See if you're playing against Celtic and you make them do what you're doing, you've won.
My brother-in-law goes to Tynecastle every week. Tries to go to as many away games as he can, and he says the togetherness, the desire and drive within the group is probably the biggest catalyst to why they've been successful.
So going back to Celtic, right? Just while it's fresh in my mind, when you're as a player, have you ever been in a scenario where the centre halves won't take the ball, so it affects you?
That's what's obviously at the tail end of my career, when I couldn't get about as much. I used to hate and Dundee would be a good example to use. And listen, I love the boys obviously up there, but let's just say I'll use Big Jazza as an example. Maybe when we were at our very best and flying and feeling really confident, and I maybe dropped in because obviously that's the type of player I was. I'd maybe want the ball off of Jazz, and he'd then maybe the team was maybe struggling a wee bit, with maybe not being quite as fluent as we had, because obviously Paul Hartley's team when I first went to Dundee had Greg Stewart's, etc. Had good players. Obviously I could only really play one way, especially at the tail end of my career. And Jazza would, let's just say, then play that wee bit longer pass. Listen, but brilliant at popping into me, but let's just say played that longer pass. I found it really difficult to then go and back up play wherever that ball then got knocked down. So I felt I was in no man's land, if that makes sense.
So that's exactly what I'm trying to explain here, that if you're a footballing team that likes to play for the back, you need to have your midfielders understanding that, because I feel like the difference in the game was Hearts' midfielders and forward line knew what was happening. Celtic never. And I feel like I feel like this is the first time we've saw Martin O'Neill's, I don't want to say style of play, because I don't think Martin O'Neill would sit there and say I've got a style of play.
No,
but what Martin O'Neill believes in is simple. And I think Celtic are used to a team that play through the lines and pass. And for whatever reason on Sunday, they never. Nygren and Engels only going to fight for you. You've not got a midfielder. They were surrounded by Magnussen, who's going to fight and go about the midfield fighting. If you think of Celtic's front six, McGregor, Engels, Nygren, Maeda, Vanakkara and Yang versus Hearts' front six, Braga, Kabori, Millen, Magnussen. You know, you've got Kezeridis, the new boy they've got on loan, brilliant.
Leonard.
He fought his corner.
You meant one of the foreign lads.
No.
Mark Leonard.
See if you take the two sixes, what would suit Celtic? Need to play the ball on the ground. If you look at Celtic's goal, it's the first time they're brave and they play through the lines and they try and play. Scales puts it through a bit of play for Trusty, Schmeichel, McGregor, out to Scales. Scales puts it up to Vankara's feet. He knocks it around the corner at Maeda. Maeda plays it on. Vankara runs on, cuts it back, and it's a goal. So Celtic never showed enough bravery. They've got the players to play. They've not got the players to fight. Now Hearts turned it into a fight by playing long. Celtic then played into Hearts' his hands, and that's where I think the game was won and lost. I think Celtic never weren't brave enough to play through the press.
Still in the title race.
They're still in the title race. I just think they need to get back to who they are. They're a footballing team, and they're not a fighter, and they'll not win the title by fighting and scrapping unless they sign 5 players that can fight and scrap. Engels, Nygren, as I've said, only going to fight and scrap in that midfield. Nygren scores a great goal. They're football players that are very good in possession. There's a title race on, mate. I obviously I've come out and said I didn't think it'd be a title race. The way the seasons went with Nancy coming in, Martin O'Neill coming back, Rangers are picking up points.
Picking up a few, mate.
They're picking up a few.
Picking up a few. Danny Rose flying.
Tom, well, I've got a 3 or 4 second clip here. We'll get it up that sums up the game for me at Tynecastle. So if you can show it there, Paul. Look at McCart does to Engels here. Bang. It's never a foul. It gets the crowd up and Engels lying on the ground. I think it sums up the game in terms of Hearts bullying and fighting and outfighting and Celtic trying to play Hearts at their own game, and that just sums it up for me.
No, I didn't disagree. It's I think back to like my time when you think like a Lee McCulloch, big jig, Griggsy putting balls, like playing against like a Lee Naylor, brilliant in the air, so aggressive, and it just gets everybody up, doesn't it? And just imagine
He
being
loved
at
the elbows,
Tynecastle.
didn't he, mate? Look at that cup up there. Look, turn that cup round. No, turn it round. If you turn it,
you scoring that
that's
one?
me scoring. But look, we won 3-0. But that's me arguing with him after the game.
Hey, look at the neck on him, man.
Mate, he's elbowed me clean in the nose about 4 times.
He's an absolute animal, mate.
Somebody gave me that cup.
I've never seen somebody so
That
good in the air as Lee McCulloch, mate.
So in that picture, he elbowed me about 3 times in the bridge of the nose. Right, my nose is absolutely stinging there. Right,
Did you win that game?
we won 3-0. That was
I
the.
must never have played in that, mate.
Oh, you know. And I'm saying to him, for fuck's sake, like, what are you doing? He's like, I didn't mean it. It was just a mile. But he meant it. He used to go up. You'd go to head it.
It was brilliant.
And as you went to head it, he'd just stick his elbow in your face, and then you'd obviously then just heed it.
It
But
was brilliant at it. But see, that's talking about like you thinking about Engels. I say it to my wee boy all the time, and I know it might sound daft, but like, see if Engels takes that and just gets up,
get up.
that's all you got.
Yeah.
So my wee boy's like a 10. My oldest boy is like a 10, and he gets kicked.
Yeah.
And people tug him and pull him and give him a wee bit in it. I sometimes see him laughing at the players or whatever, but it affects him.
Yeah.
Listen, he's 15. He's grown, he's learning. But my advice to him is, when you get kicked, mate, no emotion.
Yeah.
Straight up.
So see, everybody's heard this inside a change room, right? Win the battle first. How important, that's so important in a game, innit? And it's like, you can't go and play your football if you don't go and do the horrible minging fighting first bit, can you?
No, the bit that a lot of people miss, and I think you'll 100% agree with me, is the battle's not about the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not about the first 20. It's the whole game.
Yeah.
Because a game that's on the knife edge, like going to Tynecastle, you might need to scrap and fight and do all the basics and be right in the game right up until the 89th minute.
Yeah.
The 89th minute you might be 2-0 up. You might have won the battle in the first 20-25 minutes. It might have been that way, but That is a wee worry for me in the Celtic team, Charlie. Like, I think if teams think they can rough Celtic up, especially away from home, be hard to beat, put loads of balls in their box, bang it forward quick, back it up, fight for it. Unless Celtic can back their quality to play through it and play around it and punish teams because of their quality, because of the good players they've got, I think it would be a natural worry. And listen, and the flip of that is, I didn't see this Hearts team getting bullied off of anyone.
Mate, I'm just thinking about times I've went to Tynecastle, right? And I remember we were behind Rangers with 3 games to go, 2 points behind, and we were away to Hearts. So Rangers were playing at home at Ibrox on a Tuesday night, and we were away to Hearts on a Wednesday night. So we're in a hotel in Edinburgh. By this point, we've got a guy called Jack Black, who's like a psychologist guy that comes with us.
Is that through Lenny?
Through Lenny. So he used to talk about he came in after a bad defeat in that season, and he used to speak about, but when you have a negative thought, say delete and all that, right? Probably the worst advice you could ever get. But anyway, I used to sit before a game going delete. I think I've spoken about that before, right? With all the negative thoughts that were running through my mind. What if I give the ball away? What if I follow the ball? Delete, but never go anywhere. So I don't know why I said it, but anyway, we're sitting in this hotel, and he's like, right, stand up after dinner. Rangers are about to kick off at Ibrox. So what we're going to do is we're going to give a big cheer, big loud roar, and they're going to feel that at Ibrox, and they're going to get beat tonight, right? So we all stood up, dead awkward, boys are all looking, and it's like, ah! Right, the whole place. And it's like, no, louder, I need it louder, mate. We're like, look, ah! Like the whole place is roaring. Mate, we're grown men roaring, right? Rangers won 5-0 that night. Swear to God. We went to Tynecastle the next night. I think we won 3 or 4.
Rangers won the league that year?
Rangers won the league that year. We went to Tynecastle next night and won. But you know how disheartening it was to think, there's a wee bit of hope thinking, maybe they heard that roar, maybe they felt that, maybe they'll get drop points. Right?
Edinburgh.
Aye. They won 5-0 that night. Right, so anyway, that was a lot of pish.
Mate, I had one of them. Didn't quote me on exactly how it went, but Terry Butcher, when I was at Hibs, blew up balloons in the changing room, mate, and told us all to get a balloon and put all negative thoughts in the balloon. I didn't have any negative thoughts. I was like, I want to be the best player. I want to win. I was like, that was my personality, if you know what I mean. It didn't mean I was like,
you must have negative thoughts.
I never, mate. I used to think about good passes and like big tackles and beating my opponent, and like that was. So I said to my boy, walk on the pitch thinking you're the best player. Doesn't mean you're going to be. Listen, I walked on the pitch with loads of brilliant players and players that were better than me, but I still had that belief when I walked on the pitch that I was the best player.
That's brilliant, man.
And so Terry gave us these balloons. I think I might have been a sub, mate, because I hardly played under him. But anyway, we had to.
You were rubbing your hair with him, weren't you?
Try and get
you were like, try and get him to stick to the nugget.
So I've tied this balloon, and he's like, put all your obviously with his big, strong, powerful, imposing voice, put all your negative thoughts.
What a lot of.
Know what he then gets you to do when all the negative thoughts are in the balloon?
Burst it.
Stand on it. Burst it is, and obviously half the boys didn't pump them up hard enough, mate, that it was easy to pop.
Boys are using the helium ones, talking all squeaky.
They don't need a pin, mate. Honestly, mate, I was like, and then he done another one where he put a white line in the changing room, kind of as you start to walk out, and it was the same as like, once you go over that white line, like all your fears and all your, and I was like, listen, I'm really open-minded when it comes to stuff, but I, as a player, I found that really difficult. Like, I'm like, I was focused, I had a good night's sleep, I was ready, I'd ate properly, I'd like tried. It didn't mean that I'd done. I might have been the worst player on the pitch, but in my mind, I thought I was the best player on the pitch. So like, I said to my boy, listen, even when you go in and train with the full-time players that are like further up the ladder than you might maybe an odd first team player, like there might be a player that's maybe coming back for injury that does a wee bit with the youth team or whatever, do you know what I mean? So he's probably a better player than my lad, and maybe all the full-time boys are better players than my lad, but I'm like, you have to have that belief.
Did you ever go and take a corner of that and think, these fans think I'm shite?
Aye, and I still think that. I still think like there'll be loads of Rangers fans that are Hibs fans, Dundee fans, especially Motherwell fans, thought I wasn't a very good player. But
other times I go and take it and think these fans think I'm good.
Aye, listen, it's nice to, and I think we're both in that agreement, and without getting too deep, that you hope that you were appreciated as a player, don't you? Because that's what you strive for. You want to be successful. You want to be the best player you can be.
But another story at Tynecastle, mate.
But I got that. I got that off of Walter, mate. Walter,
Belief?
I thought I had belief and I had swagger, and then I remember going to Rangers and he asked to see me no long after I was there, and I remember like it was yesterday, in his wee office at the front. He didn't have the big fancy office upstairs or whatever, he had the wee office just as you walked out onto pitch one. So I went in and seen him and I was like, everything alright? And he was like, aye, good. He was like, you enjoying it? I was like, I'm loving it. And he said, I'm going to say it to you. He says, until you believe that you're as good as him, if no better than him, he's like, you'll never be the player that you should be here. Talking about Barry. And obviously, listen, I wasn't as good a player as Barry, but I couldn't feel inferior to him. I couldn't feel like I was like, it was all about him and it wasn't about me. I had to try and find ways of competing with him.
Was he telling you that he thought you were as good as him?
I think he had a belief that I could, like, my talent was
Did
there.
you feel that
what
for him?
Aye.
Brilliant.
I felt 10 foot tall, mate, underwater. And he like obviously spoke about like the armband, like eventually that'll be your mantle, eventually that's your journey at this club, that's what I see. And I was like, and see, for that day I walked out thinking, I'm a good player. I believe in myself. But it didn't mean I then didn't have cowardice away where
but it's humility in it to know that it can go any time.
Aye, and it's I never ever took anything for granted as a player, because I had loads of poor games. I had games where like you play with the blinkers on, you didn't quite see that fast pass, and that's how I was as a player, like thinking of the next step, whether it was with the ball, with the ball, where like a game of chess for me really, or how I played. But as a man management part, when you think of like Terry asking me to stand on a balloon to get rid of my fears, to like a Walter telling me that I should be good enough and have the belief that I'm good enough to try and compete. And listen, Barry's the best player I've played with by a stretch. When you think of the top players, so he deserves all the credit. A wonderful football player, but I think as an individual, when you think he's trying to be successful, having that, you what? Sorry,
Maurice Malpass. I'm just picturing Maurice Malpass blowing balloons up in the corner for you.
He used to wear a tammy like that.
Have you blew the balloons up yet?
Getting angry.
I just thought another story at Tynecastle I was going to say.
This is what we should do.
Do you remember?
Never mind the tactics, mate.
Do you remember the old changing rooms at Tynecastle?
The
tiny ones.
Aye.
We were in there before. I don't know if it was the game after that Jack Black. I can't remember. The games are all kind of mashed into one. But we were sitting in the change room. It was really tight, and Lenny started doing a team talk, and somebody's farted, mate. And he just went like that in the middle of a series team talk. He went like, "Who the fuck was that?" We're just sitting, mate. It was me, wasn't it?
No way.
I swear to God, boys were howling, laughing, just as well we won that
so
night.
a silent but smelly one.
Oh, mate, he was gone. He was fuming.
Was he?
Aye, it was loud.
And does he know it was you?
He found out after the game because we won. Everybody was like
Aye,
laughing and joking about it and that, and saying it was me, and he was
imagine
like,
you
"Don't do
got
it again." I know, it was my fault. Brilliant, man. I remember Maurice Ross. Maurice Malpass. Talking about him there. I remember my first 21 strip. Bruni scalped him with a roll in the back of the head.
By the way, Scotty said that it was me that he hit with the spoon.
No, it was Bruni.
No, it wasn't. It was Bruni that threw the thing, and he come round to the table, and it was you. You done it in open goal, didn't you?
Aye.
Mate, he hit me on the back of the head, and it was one of the big heavy spoons when you go abroad.
Did he hit you with it?
Aye, hit me with it, mate. I was fuming.
I'm
Wasn't even
convinced
me.
it was Bruni.
No, so Scotty threw the thing and obviously laughing and joking at the table. Was it not like...
No, Bruni was aiming for somebody else, and they moved out the way, and he scalped the assistant manager.
He come and hit me in the... It was searing me.
I remember hearing the noise and thinking, oh my
That's why
God.
I've got no hair in the back of my
Scooped the hair right off you.
January still in play. Do you think they'll get anyone on the line? Over the line, sorry.
I think Sunday shows you Trusty needs competition. There needs to be another. I think there needs to be a centre back in there. I think Felix Hornmeyer's been linked, the Norwegian midfielder. He looks to me like more of an 8 midfielder, where Engels and Nygren sort of play. A midfielder's needed, and I think another striker's needed. You could argue the midfielder is needed for like a Wanyama type. I've said before, a Brown, somebody that goes to Tynecastle and is ready to. If it's going to turn into a bit of a battle, he's ready for that. But he can also do the other side of it, which is obviously hard to get. But I also think there's another striker needed. I think Van Cara looks like he can add something. He runs with the ball. He looks quick. He's decent in the air. He holds it in no bad. I think he can definitely add to the squad. But
would you say this makeup of this Celtic team is probably a word that nobody likes, but would you say they're a bit fragile and a bit soft in their personnel? They're there to be roughed up, aren't they?
100%. I think Hearts got the...
Which is not a typical Martin O'Neill team, is it? When you think back to the teams that he had, obviously, that would be bread and butter for them.
Well, this is what I'm saying. See what Celtic...
But
that's
they are a nice,
yeah,
free-flowing, smooth operator when they're at their best.
So see if Celtic turn up at Tynecastle and play like they played, get in the fight, when you've got Hartson, Sutton, Mayalby, Lennon, Bobo Baldi, Valharn. Like I don't think any team in the league wants to fight Celtic with A players, but I think if Celtic turn up and fight with what they've got just now,
it's not going to bring them success.
It's not going to bring them success, Tom. Well, they need to play the Celtic way, which is through the lines, have possession, and I just think Schmeichel has sensed a bit of, you know, when a manager gives you a game plan, like Ange Postecoglou said to Joe Hart, you play for the back, don't want to see anything else. Joe Hart would then know that was his only choice and know that's what he would do. So if he made a mistake doing that, he'd be applauded. Keep doing it because that's the way I want to play. I feel under Martin O'Neill, his instinct is if there's any danger, kick long. So Schmeichel took the easy option. He had a couple of players maybe Trusty now and again or players maybe no showing, took the easy option, and all of a sudden you turn into a fight. And that's where I think Martin O'Neill, deep down, if you want to play like that, they need players that can play like that. Otherwise, you need to play through the lines, and you need to. That's not saying you can't go over the top, but it can't be aimless balls forward to a striker with no support to him. And that's just my view on it, mate. That's what I see. So, I don't think it's I think it's an interesting one, and it's one that I think Celtic need to get back to playing.
How long we got in the window? Another 3 or 4 days?
3 or 4 days in the window.
3 or 4 days.
February the 2nd, Monday.
Monday. So, not quite a week.
Aye.
They're surely going to do business, aren't they?
Oh, they need to. Aye.
Surely do business.
Aye, it's looking like the boy, yeah.
Now let's talk about Ibrox. I was there.
How was it?
8 games on the bounce.
Mate,
albeit one of them being a European game.
many clean sheets they got, Dave?
5 in the last 8, I think it is.
That's right.
And by the way, they were I thought Dundee were excellent. Obviously the goals, I'm saying excellent, they never caused Rangers any real threat within the final third. I thought Big Fernandez was absolutely terrific. He played with his slippers on. The wee couple times that Dundee did get in behind and tried to flash balls across the box, the big man mopped it up, front area. I think he's grown and grown and grown. And you could argue, when you think of Cornelius, Suter, the two of them, Diego and Fernandez, albeit Diego's been in and out at times, Fernandez found himself back in the team. They probably know their 2 recognised centre-backs that would potentially be their number ones, but I thought, watching the game, I'm not so sure the crowd were overly pleased with, like delighted with winning, obviously. Probably one of the biggest cheers of the day was when it went 2-2 at Tynecastle, obviously when I was on the gantry. So it shows you that there's obviously everybody's keeping an eye on what's going to happen around them. But I have to say, Danny Rowe, mate, for me, when you think adaptability to getting the best out of what he's got, finding a way of winning, which is a great, as you know, I know people, that's an easy thing to say, oh, you just need to win. But
what is that way, right? So
I don't think he's got a specific style, mate, to be honest. Like when I was watching the game and I was commentating on it, it probably wasn't the most fluent, fast, free-flowing game of football I've ever watched in my life, but they do always carry a threat. But I thought the personnel in the front line, Asgard, Moore, Scovolson, new signing, who looks like a good player, lovely left peg, probably never had one of his most exciting games, and they were all for a debut, but you can tell he's a good player. Never done anything wrong, really. Had almost a good assist for a goal, which was chopped off for the other new signing, Chukwueze, and Miovski as well. I just thought, like, where's the speed in the front line? Where's you speak about like playing through as a Celtic team and getting in behind and making teams like really scramble back to defend their goal. Dundee hardly ever really done that, apart from late on in the game, but they're probably chasing a bit. The second goal comes off of Bevan, a young boy coming on, playing a square pass, Danilo reacting to it. Unbelievable finish. Looks like it might be his last rodeo at Ibrox. Looks like he could potentially be moving. And then Gassama then plucks one out the sky. Wonderful first touch, a bit nonchalant, outside his right boot, chops inside and whips one in the far corner, game set and match. But up until then, it was a wee bit huffy-puffy. I thought they were crying out for a bit of speed. But the one thing that I would say that he's got, what I touched on at Hearts, is it looks as though he's got everybody on side.
Yeah.
It looks as though he's got a buy-in for the players.
Yeah.
Raskin played in a traditional role that was a wee bit different. An untraditional role that was more of a 6, which we've both said that we didn't think he is a 6, but he played some good passes through. Asgard again was, I do think there's a really good player in there, but
how long do you keep saying that, though?
I know, had one of these quieter games, and I don't know if Asgard's better with like blistering speed in the wide areas or a number 9 that really stretches the game, whereas Miovski's at times, like he was really competitive when it come to like putting himself about. I don't know if you've seen much of the young boy Luke Graham. I think he's 21, 22, left-sided centre back for Dundee.
Yes,
really powerful, really athletic. So Miovski had a real good ding dong. Astley, the other centre back.
He's on loan for Falkirk, is he not, the boy Luke Graham?
I'm not 100% sure, mate, but
Or he was at Falkirk, I'm sure.
Can play, mate. Left-sided. He got a wee bit loose late on in the second half when he got tired, but that would be the one thing that I don't know if Rangers have got any aspirations. He may be getting 1 or 2 more over the line, but like Mikey, I actually thought, listen, the game looks different, so I think you have to put it into context when Gassama comes on and Finlay Curtis come on, but they were both a wee. Gassama less so, I would say. I always think he's better when he goes on the left, cutting in on his right. Started off obviously on the right. I'm not so sure unless he's like at his brilliant best and he's most confident that he wants to go down the outside. He's more than capable. We've seen him do it only a few weeks ago against Motherwell, where the goal comes through, playing it across the face of the goal, mistake, Asgard in at the back post. So, but when he cuts inside, he's got that quality, obviously, find the finish that he finds.
I think when I see Rangers and I sit there and go, right, why are they... That's not a coincidence, their defensive record, and I think what they're doing is they're spreading out to play for goal kicks under Jack Butland, so that with Jack Butland they're thinking, right, let's go and play. But it seems to me that it's one of the messages for the manager, like for all, but only if it's on. And if it's not on, then kick it. Cause I think under Russell Martin, it was we play for the back no matter what, and they conceded a lot of goals for losing the ball, just try to play out, or most of their goals were conceded when they were playing in the team's half, and they never killed the counter attack. They would always get done on the counter. Well, I think Rangers, I can see them. They spread out to play for their goal kicks, and they go, right, let's play. But Jack Button's wanting to go, right, now we'll just kick it because it's not on. They play it up to Tavernier, and then they go and pick up the ball and they play for there. And then when they're getting a counter attack against, they seem to foul, or they seem to no concede for counter attacks, and that's clever for fouling, or don't know if it's something maybe Danny Rose spoke about, but they've definitely tied up. And then off the ball, they seem solid. I think it's one thing he's done is looked at them off the ball and thought, right, what are we going to do here? And they've got themselves in a good shape. It's a team that. A good team's a team that don't concede, because the way Rangers players have got, they're going to go and score, aren't they?
The momentum they're building, mate. Even like the fans, like I get a lot of messages saying, like, can they continue to play as poorly and continue to get like find the results? And I'm like, well, not to kind of flip that straight back into argument, but I would rather be playing poorly and winning games, or maybe not be at my brilliant best, because I think the narrative off the back of that is that, like, just brought in new players. Yeah, the window's still open. They've been linked with different players. They've obviously been linked with like a Kieran Bowie, etc. They might go in the market and maybe bring in another striker. Shermitti obviously no involved at the weekend, who's off the back of obviously the Old Firm double. He's kind of put himself back in the Dave's obviously favourite player. He's put himself.
Dave loves Shermitti, didn't you, Dave?
Shermitti. But I do think they're. I feel a wee bit sorry for Miovski, because quite a lot of fans message me and saying, is it like why was he so good at Aberdeen and he's no look quite as good at Rangers? The game's different. Yeah. At Aberdeen, probably played home and away, more space, more basketball type game of football, more end to end.
We'll see the players that are asking that, the fans that are asking that. How much did they see him at Aberdeen?
Probably just seen the clips of his goals.
Seen the clips. So now he's at Rangers and he's under scrutiny every single game. At Aberdeen, he could go 3 or 4 without scoring, and then score a few goals, and you would see then go, what a player he is. You know what I mean?
No, I just think when obviously the big games that he had, whether it be against Rangers or Celtic or Hibs or Hearts, and obviously sometimes you're judging these boys on what people would see as the bigger games. I always felt as though like he was always running in behind. He was always like setting off and running, and always running towards opposition goals, whereas at Ibrox a lot of times there isn't that space to run in behind. Yeah. You know, a lot of times you're having to come and link, you're having to sniff out chances, you're having to have that the Kyogo, the Chris Boyd, the clever movement in amongst the box through lots of bodies to sniff out chances, and I don't think that's a coincidence that these boys are brilliant at that. I think it's a natural trait that these guys just sense it.
They don't get disheartened by their overall play. They always...
Boydie will make the runs, he'll be the front post. And by the way, there'll be times where he darts across the front post and somebody will stand up at the back post and he'll be frustrated.
Yeah.
The thing about Boydie, he would then react to what then might happen next.
Yeah.
So then he would do a multiple run. He'd go again. He'd then maybe get another chance that it gets knocked back across the goal and he's went from being at the front post to then being in the middle of the 6-yard box and he gets his tap in.
He doesn't get this. Boydie doesn't care about anything other than scoring goals.
He wants to score goals. He was in between the sticks. So I think Miovski is a wee bit like, I'm not so sure he is that predator type striker in amongst the 18-yard box, but I think he's a good player out with it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I used to watch him at Aberdeen, same again, probably like the average fan, running through on goal, more space in behind, probably more 1v1 against defenders, whereas at Ibrox, you, as a centre forward, sometimes you have to occupy the two centre backs, sometimes you have to occupy a full back line if you might play in a Steven Gerrard team where the two wide players come inside the pitch. You know what I mean? So your presence, your profile as an individual, you sometimes just have to be a good player for the team to create space for other players.
And add into that, it can't be underestimated, is the pressure of playing for a team like Rangers. As number 9, right? Let's see what you've got. Every single week you're getting scrutiny and what you're doing and what goals you're scoring and your records getting spoke about. So it's a much harder thing to do than to play with Aberdeen. Aberdeen, there's obviously a lot of pressure and it sets you up nicely if you're talking about a team outside Celtic and Rangers in Scotland. Aberdeen, there's pressure to play for them, but it's a different, completely different prospect playing for Rangers. I think that, for me, that goes. That's a hard one as well.
Favourites for the title?
Mate, it's so hard to call, innit?
Just say aye or not.
It changes week to week, doesn't it? Like, listen, their defensive record.
I love when I catch you on the spot.
They're going the wrong way.
No, I didn't want you to elaborate. I just want.
Are they favourites for the title?
Favourite for the title? Aye or no?
This week.
Well, we're doing it every weekend, so you can change your mind next week. Hibs next week, innit? Hibs on the Sunday for Rangers, so they've got
Rangers are in a strong position. Hearts are up for the fight. Celtic
I've got their problems.
Martin O'Neill at the helm, that he's proven he can pick up results. So
intriguing.
Who's favourites? It's so tight. It's hard to say. I don't know. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be a great run. It's going to be the best for years.
That's a
well, I know what's not going to happen though. Hearts are not going to be 8 points behind Celtic and Rangers in March.
Aye,
I said on Twitter,
I think Gorgie is still a realistic expectation of you Tufton to end up in a boozer somewhere, mate, with a maroon and white scarf on.
I must have started watering there, but I don't know if it was for a Gorgie pub or just a pint in general.
Just a pint, aye. I can't imagine. I'd pay good money to see that, and I'm sure a lot of the Jambos would as well.
So would the Rangers, what would you sign if you were What do they
I
need?
think they'll still be back in the market for still a striker. I still think that when you think of the game, the way, like, never had loads and loads and loads of chances. They never really had Dundee under real pressure or like a real submission where you thought that 2-3-4
was that the striker's fault then?
No, I just think that sometimes, like, I thought apart from Raskin, really, they never had another player on the pitch that is forceful with the ball. You can always see he's looking to play that pass, the harder pass, the one that gets Asgard on the half turn.
What about the new boy? What was he like?
Chigawani was, I think I'm saying his name right. I just commentated on him, but he's a powerhouse of a ball, you mate. Real big, strong, physical
Did he look good,
athlete. I think he looked a wee bit raw on the ball, but I actually think he struggled to influence the game early on, and then he started to find his way and lock on and use his power. And Nico, he was probably more playing alongside Nico as a 2, with Asgard slightly in front, but then Mikey Moore likes to come inside and make the darting runs. Skov Olsen probably, with Tav not quite being as... You've obviously got Magoma, who's got a bundle of energy, who's electric quick.
I seen Olsen coming inside quite a lot, and he looked like a bit of a striker as Tavernier bombed right on the right. Do you think that's a deliberate thing they were doing? Or
I think they can dovetail really well. I think that Tav's obviously... It was mad because I screenshotted it. I was a bit taken aback. I gave Tav man of the match. One, because I think we need to mention that he's just scored 100 goals in the league.
Yeah.
His 100th league goal. Which is incredible, really.
You just reminded me of a question there I want to ask you.
I seen these stats pop up. I think it was a club. Touches, he was ranked first with 145. Touches inside the box.
In this game?
He was first in this game. Total passes, 79, he was first. Team rank and match rank. Passes in the final third, which was the one that I was...
For a right back,
which I was a wee bit intrigued by. He was second and second. Key passes, 4, he was first and first. Ball recoveries, 18, he was first and first. In opposition half ball recoveries, he was first and first, which was 5. And that was team rank and match rank.
But that indicates he's virtually played as a right winger.
Well, you could argue, it never felt like that to me. It's funny how when you see these things pop up, I thought Tav, I don't know him that well, but I would have thought he just had a steady Eddie game. He didn't do anything wrong. I probably would have gave the man of the match to Fernandes, but I just think sentimental, 100 league goals, an unbelievable achievement. He's been a brilliant player for Rangers. He's continued to be a brilliant player for Rangers. Everybody wants to look at his medal haul, or he's maybe not as good at defending or whatever, but I think he deserves all the credit he gets, and I think you should be looking at the good bits rather than just always, us kind of as a nation always wanting to, or as a fan base always wanting. I always want to kind of pick holes out. But listen, I know that's what it's all about. But
we're no bumming Tammy even up again on here. We've done that too much. He's had his time.
He was. I was surprised with him because we are no like data, or do you know what I mean? We're quite off the cuff, aren't we? But it's when I seen it pop up when I got home on Sunday night, and I was intrigued because I did give him man of the match, but it was more, I think he was deserving of it.
Yeah.
But I didn't think he was deserving of it because he had an unbelievable, brilliant performance. Brilliant penalty, right enough. But I thought Big Fernandes was probably...
Another penalty for Rangers?
By the way, I thought it was a stone wall. But I have to say, Big Elf, Barry Nicholson, I seen him Thursday night. Never actually realised he was there. He come to see me when I was standing doing the lounges. He's obviously watching Rangers on the Thursday night in the European game against Ludogorets. And... I thought Dundee. I think Dundee will be all right, mate. The boy Ethan Hamilton puts himself about in the middle of the pitch, captain until Simon Murray come on late on. But I think it's no surprise. Quite a athletic. Dre Wright. I always thought of Dre Wright when he's been at Hibs, when he's been at different places, was an attacking type player, but he played it right back. Yandanda in front of him, dovetailed really well. Probably lacked any cutting edge really in the final third, but they worked a brilliant wee free kick, which was really unlucky. I don't know who eventually pulled. I think Skov Olsen, but they play one like right along the byline. It's the wee one that gets like cut back, but it was a slight different variation on it, and it got cut back to the edge and
free kick, wasn't it? Because he got blocked.
Free kick because I think it was a wee pull of the jersey that got blocked, but it almost worked a treat. Obviously, would have had to shoot through a lot of bodies, but I think Dundee...
Based on what you've saw, do you think Rangers win the league?
I think it's hard to get away from the fact that I think it's easy for me to say because I'm not involved in it, but I think it's hard to get away from it. I think they're the favourites now. Listen, Hearts are... I think Hearts are the one to be shot at, but I think when you look at the record that Danny Rowe's got, if they'd won 3 or 4 games and then had a wee stuttering start or had a disappointing result, you would feel as though they've not got that consistency. But the momentum that's building, the fact that they're harder to beat, they're less open. It might not make them quite as pleasing on the eye at times, and maybe there is a wee bit disgruntlement for the fans. But like the majority of fans, when they get over the line, are happy. They go, they pay their money, they want to see their team win. You always know when the fans are reasonably happy. When I'm driving back along the M8 and the tutors are going in the cars or whatever, and the thumbs up and people are happy to see you. So no, I think there's a general better buzz around the stadium.
Your lights on, mate?
Probably because I had my name on the side of my car.
Reggie Tomo, roof dude.
Kevin Thomson Academy on the side of my cars. I give away and then people look in, it is him. But no, I think Danny Rowe, the staff.
Fingers?
Oh, I get every day. on my way here.
I'd definitely give you the finger that I drove by you.
On my way here, but I thought I think I would echo some of the fans, mate. When I was there, it wasn't the most brilliant performance I've seen, but 2 brilliant goals in the end. Tav obviously getting his 100th league goal, and another win and taking obviously the European game into the calculations. 8 wins on the bounce. It's 5
Danny
clean
Rowe's
sheets.
done some job, by the way.
He has, mate.
He's done really well.
I think the Americans need to take a lot of credit as well because they've got rid of Russell Martin when it was toxic, it was hard, it was difficult. Probably what they didn't envision happening after appointing a new manager in
Where's
the summer.
Joe Rothwell, by the way?
He's been linked with going in it. I don't know if he's officially. I think he was linked with going to Hull.
He'll be gone, won't he, by the end of the window?
He's and obviously Finn Curtis was another one that come on, full of energy, willing to run, great boy. Obviously linked with Kelly, wasn't he? I thought it would have been a good
I
move.
thought he was gone.
No, he's not officially away. Team of the season so far
Hearts,
combined. Hearts, Celtic.
Hearts-Celtic-Rangers. We've had a wee think about this. We're going to go our team of the season so far between the top three: Hearts,
4-3-3.
Rangers, Celtic, and we'll put it in a 4-3. Do you think we go 4-4-2 or
Nah.
4-3-3? We'll put it in, and see I think I'm going to go just defenders, midfielders, and attackers. It doesn't necessarily
we're
mean
the
position
specific
specific.
point.
So we'll start with goalkeeper, mate.
Non-negotiable.
Oh,
Butland by a mile.
yeah.
Butland
I
by the way,
thought
he had a wee sticky patch, didn't he, that he come under a bit of scrutiny when you think of the Shankland goal at Tynecastle is obviously one of the obvious ones, but he's I've now done quite a few Rangers games, whether it be for Rangers TV or for the BBC, and he's come up with some huge saves in recent times, so I think he's, I have to say the other two, it's not that they've not had good seasons, but I think Schmeichel's had a few ropey moments, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But Butland for me, I think, is the obvious.
Hearts
candidate.
keeper Schwallow. Is it Schwallow you call?
Schwallow, aye.
Schwallow.
I think he's all right, to be fair. And
He's been very good. But I would go Butland. I might agree with you. Right back. It's a sticky one, this one. I think it's by default this person gets it for me.
Come on in.
Tavernier. Because I don't think he's been brilliant. He's found himself at the team. But Hearts have been a problem area and Celtic's been a problem area. Tavernier for me.
I agree, but I think even him as an individual, he's obviously back himself against anyone. But I didn't think halfway through the season he'd be saying, "Oh, I've had a wonderful season and I've been at my brilliant best." But listen, he's getting older. But I still think he's if you compare him to the others, I think he gets in the team, doesn't he? This is where it becomes interesting for me.
Right, you go. We'll go turn it, right?
Well, I just think
you
can throw a few in the net in the hat, obviously. So Scales probably was Celtic's best defender for a wee period of time where you've got the ball. You've got Halkett and Finlay who have been absolutely terrific for Hearts, who obviously we see Steve Clark, whether he was just there watching the game or whether it was reported that there was maybe a wee wild card that potentially could get to the World Cup. You've got Big John Souttar, who obviously been a mainstay for Rangers, but he's found himself different injuries at different times. You've then got Big Fernandez, who's come in and he's been terrific. You've obviously got Trusty, who is probably been an ever-present as such for Celtic, but culpable to a mistake here or there. So
good in Bologna, horrendous all night. I'm going to go right centre half. I'm going to go Halkett.
Agree. We cannot have two different teams, so we'll have to.
I'm going to pick my back.
This is just off the cuff.
Okay, so back four: Tavernier, Halkett, Finlay, Scales.
Scales at left back.
Yeah, Scales are back. As I say, four defenders.
As a defender.
Back four. Where you going? I know who you're getting in there. Based on Saturday's performance.
What, just Big Fernandez? I just think it's because he's not been in the team and maybe played, but somebody
scored some important goals as well.
I would listen, if I was picking a team that was the best team to win, I think he would get in front of the other ones. But he's obviously had to be patient at times. Obviously Diego, Souttar were obviously more so the defensive partnership under Russell Martin. But I think since Danny Rowe's come in and he's been a mainstay in the team, plus the goals that he's added, I think he breaks the two Hearts boys. And I'm just going off a personal preference that I think if I had to pick between Halkett and Finlay, I would pick Halkett.
So you're going Halkett, Fernandez.
I would go Tavernier, Fernandez, Halkett, even though neither of them give the natural balance.
Who's left back?
See, you're obviously going Scales, but I think it's hard to get away from. Like, the fullbacks are probably in the two teams. McGoma's obviously been in the team, out the team. At one stage, obviously under Russell Martin, Max Aarons was playing at left back as an inverted fullback coming inside. So, boy's a young lad, 19-year-old. He's a modern day fullback, really, really quick, really athletic, no big in stature, but I think he's going under the radar. Kingsley's obviously a lovely left peg.
You're struggling, aren't you?
I am a wee bit, but I feel a bit uncomfortable putting Scales as a left back. But I suppose we did say it's not position specific, it's more just 4 defenders. So I suppose Scales, up until Nonce had come into the club, I would say was probably Celtic's best defender. So
I'm deleting Nonce's time right out my head.
Unfortunately, we cannot, mate. But I think a lot of Celtic fans would like to. But I'm comfortable with that. I think Kingsley probably feel a wee bit hard done by, but
Devlin's played there quite a bit, hasn't he?
Sorry,
Millen.
Harry Milne. But obviously a right playing left back, a bit unorthodox for him. So, I'm not so sure he would make my team. So we'll go with that. Butland, Tavernier.
Is Millen a right footer? I thought he was lefty.
Is he a lefty?
I'm sure he's a left back.
Sorry, the opposite way around, I'm saying. Left back playing right back at times.
Right wing, aye.
He played right in front of McAtee at the start of the season.
He's left-footed playing right wing, I'm sure.
Aye, but he's been, to be fair, I suppose he's one of the profile players that he's been really flexible, and I think back to like an Ian Murray almost. When I played with him at Hibs, he could play centre back, he could play midfield, he could play at full back. Harry Milne's probably
powerful runner, isn't he? Right, so into midfields. Who you got there, left back?
Go Scales then.
Scales.
So
the only difference is I've got you've got Fernandez in,
and you've went Finlay and Halkett,
and I went Finlay Halkett. Okay, so midfield. What's your midfield?
I know who you're going to put in it, but he wouldn't be in my team because I don't think he's had the best season.
Oh, you're not McGregor in?
No.
That's a shambles. Because I think what happens with McGregor is he's that good that people then go, oh no, he's no living up to his best, but he's still better than.
I think he is that good, and I'm his biggest fan. I think he's a wonderful football player. He's had a wonderful career, but I think even Callum would feel
last minute goal against St Mirren.
Big
captain performances.
But he also played every minute, every game under Wilfred Nancy.
Oh come on, man! We're not judging MD off that.
I know, but I just think he's had a period of the season where and also listen, they're sitting third in the league.
Yeah. Right, so who's your midfield?
It's hard to get away from the two boys at Hearts because I think Cammy Devlin would be up there.
Devlin's in there for me.
But I think Beningami's a better player and he's my type of player, Beningame. But he obviously had the injury, he's now had the suspension. Cammy Devlin's now injured, but we're picking what I would say would be I think Cammy Devlin's been brilliant and what he brought to the Hearts team has been second to none, but my personal my personal opinion would be, and my preference would be Beningame.
Because you're going Beningame?
Beningame would be a mainstay in my 3-eye.
Okay, so I'm going...
Beningame would be as close to being my first pick.
Okay, so I'm going Devlin, McGregor, and Nygren because his goals.
Any Rangers players in the middle of the pitch?
No, I think Nygren's a funny one for me, but his goal scoring.
He's a good player, right?
His goal scoring for me, he's top joint top scorer. I think he can sniff a goal out, so I would be playing Nygren as a 10, Devlin and...
We're not going position specific.
No, okay.
3 rats in the middle of the pitch.
Okay, so...
Barron, Cammy Devlin and Beningame sitting behind him. I'm just going to bang it forward, I'm going to fight for it, and I'm going to... I think Nico Raskin's probably... a bit
Barron, Beningame and who?
Devlin, Beningame and Conor Barron. And Conor Barron's a sentimental one for me because I love the wee man, I had him and I've got a good relationship with him, but I thought he was the flippy, the nonsense period, he was catalyst for in and out the team under Russell Martin, got in the team, and then I think he's been a real, albeit obviously injured now.
So here's a question for you, there's a game tomorrow.
But that's not the question.
Barron's. It's a season so far.
Aye, but if you ask me just to pick the best midfielder in Scotland, I'd pick Callum McGregor.
No, but it's a season so far, so it's in current form. So there's a game tomorrow, and Barron's sitting fit, and so is McGregor.
Still got pre-match and a glass of wine to debate it.
I've got you there. Right, front three.
So who was your three?
So mine was Devlin, McGregor, and Nygren for his goal scoring.
So mine's Conor Barron, Cammy Devlin, and Benningham.
And I think with they two will produce the fight. Devlin will make up for do the running for Nygren.
My three probably didn't bring too much flair in the final third when it comes to contributing to the front three, but I just think as seasons so far, what they've contributed to their teams, Conor Barron catalyst for the turnaround under Danny Rowe, mainstay in the team, and Cammy Devlin has had a brilliant season, and I think Benningham is my type of player. He's composed and calm in possession, strong body contact. He's maybe not the most mobile, but I think he's had a terrific season.
Right, front three.
Oh, this is debatable.
Yeah.
This is debatable. Shankland's probably the one that steals all the thing with, but for me, I think Braga would be my number one, because I think if like we done on last week, he would be, like we mentioned different players, Jamie McGrath at Hibs obviously having a good season individually, Elliot Watt never even got a mention last week, who I've been a big advocate for, but I think if I was picking the player of the year now, it would be Braga. So Braga. He has to be in the front three for me.
So Braga's in mine as well. Braga, Shankland,
Kizaridis. You've been on record saying that their front three are the best front three in the league.
I'm standing by it. I don't see if you get an argument for anybody in Celtic and Rangers that gets ahead of that three. Consistently,
probably no to date. Hence the reason why they're still top of the league. And it's not that isn't the question who we think is better players. It's who's had the better season. So
who's the better season?
Aye.
Up until
I don't disagree. I think Kizaridis brings the perfect foil. I think Shankland, listen, they're both. They're probably now, when you think of Shankland, however long he's going to be out, is depending on how the climax of the season transpires and how quick he can get back fit. He's probably done himself out of being in the short list with everybody just because he might end up missing a bulk of the season. But I think the front three, when you think of the what they all bring, is
an argument for MD for Rangers in that front three.
Well, it's hard because Big Shermitty had obviously real.
There's no way he's in the team.
I'm just saying he got a lot of stick, didn't he? And then he obviously come onto a game and he got a wee bit of stick again, obviously for his performance up at Aberdeen. But the pitch was terrible. So I mean, but that's what you are when you represent Rangers and Celtic. You come under the microscope all the time, and you're a brilliant player one week, you're not so good a player the next. So Mikey Moore's been another one, slow start. For one stage, he was doing really well. I still think there's a real good player in there. For an 18-year-old boy to kind of carry that front line for a wee period there.
Tonight had a wee spell.
Miovski's not hit the heights as it stands, I don't think. And then Gassama, I think, when you think his goal scoring contributions and his goals.
He's linked by a move,
but in Europe was probably. He was electric in Europe when he first joined the club. Do you know what I mean? But then Ant-Man, obviously, as you mentioned, I think before that his debut, you're thinking, I think it was Stroom Grantsel or whoever it might have been. He was brilliant. He's had his injury problems, but no, I think if you were picking the best three to date, it'd be hard to get away through the front three at Hearts. I think they've all three of them have been brilliant for Derek McInnes and the Hearts team.
So we had to cut for a minute there. Once something happened with the camera. As we were all fair, Dave made a point. It's a terrible team me and Tomo have both come up with because Maswanisi's missing. Which, of course, is a shambles because it's Hearts, Celtic, Rangers between the three of them. So
sorry, Dave, we'll let you off with it.
Dave's not got a clue.
But Maswanisi, if it was a team of the season.
Dave, you asked a point there just before. What was it?
What would the manager be? Who would manage the team?
Good shout.
So that
Marvin Neal, Danny Rowe, or Derek McInnes.
So you're asking who the manager
of the season has to
be
just off the players though, because obviously it would be it would be an unorthodox team because of the shape and position and the personnel that we've picked.
I think you've got to go. Derek McInnes so far. I've been the best manager from the three.
I think that's a fair point. I think that your opinion could change regarding what transpires in the coming months, but at the moment, Derek McInnes deserves all the credit he gets. And that's not a slant on Martin O'Neill or Danny Rowe, who both could go on and do brilliant jobs for their clubs, but at this precise moment in time, if you were picking a manager of the season, if the season was to finish tomorrow, you'd be picking Derek McInnes, wouldn't you?
Dale's up there. No, who else is up there though? He's gone under the radar because Motherwell are so good.
Oh,
The John McGlynn. What about the result of the weekend?
I know. Obviously, a sore one for Dave, who's a friend of mine. So you want to see him do well, and obviously, I want.
Is he under pressure?
I think it's hard. It's horrible, isn't it? It's hard not to get away from the fact that he'd be under a bit of pressure. I don't think the Dunfermline game last week helped to then obviously go. I think if you end up getting beat off Falkirk and it's 2-1 or it's a close game or whatever, and you maybe perform well, but I think to get beat 4-1 in the end was a real sore one for him. And I know a lot of my mates that go every week. The narrative's starting to turn a wee bit for him, but I think he's been through every twist and turn he probably could have had as a young manager, and he's managed to come out the other side when you think back to the Aberdeen game. So I do think the hierarchy, the Gordons will be patient. He's got a good sounding board in Malky Mackay, who has seen everything in the game as well, so he's got a great bit of experience to lean on. Eddie May, part of his staff.
They've been patient before and it's worked for them.
Listen, I'd hate to see him get sacked, not just because he's a friend, just because I wouldn't like to see anyone get sacked, but the flip of that is an unbelievable job John McGlynn's doing. Play great football.
Yeah.
Recall Barney Stewart for Dunfermline, who was doing a good job for Dunfermline. Dunfermline fans gutted to see him go. I think Lenny was a bit gutted to see him go as well. Obviously they bring in the boy Ollie Thomas for down south, Dunfermline, who obviously I watched live against Hibs, making his debut. But Barney Stewart, what a story. I think somebody told me he was playing like for Harriet Water. He's playing for like a 7th tier team not that long ago. The journey that he's been on.
Calvin Miller's a big player for.
He scored a hat trick against Hibs. You know what I mean? After being scoring goals against in the Championship, he's
I think another player is Calvin Miller, who goes under the radar. The amount of times that he gets in behind and plays in behind, but can also take it in the space and a half turn.
Full of energy, they're athletic, full of energy. I know the big boy Liam Henderson. We actually tried to sign him.
Motherwell's form has actually killed John McGlynn because he's been that good. He's been under the radar.
He's obviously been linked with like the Aberdeen job and that, and he probably pressed stuff. And the Falkirk will obviously be wanting any.
Do you know who else another big player for them, Tomo? I don't know if you saw him, boy Connor Allen. I had him at Kelty.
I had him at Rangers.
Do you have him at Rangers? Since he's come in the team, they've showed right up, and they're playing centre back. I always thought he was better as a wing back or a right wing back.
So he was an attacking midfielder when he first joined the Rangers.
He's a good player, mate. He's a good player.
Coach's dream. Yeah, brilliant boy. Big Hendo's obviously 6'4", 6'5", effective in both boxes. Scott Bain in goals.
Yep.
He recruited really well. John McGlynn, Bainey, another mate of mine, played obviously at Dundee with him. Obviously you'll know him for his time at Celtic, more so being an understudy. But he's the biggest thing for me, Charlie, which we both love obviously is and I know there's different ways to kind of skin a cat as such, but it's the football they play.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? To like come up, probably can we survive this season? Like aspirations of top 6 now, no million miles away from potentially getting European football. To go for League One, he deserves all the credit he gets, John McGlynn.
They don't play anywhere near as good a football as Motherwell though, do they?
No, Motherwell are proper.
Another good result for them, 4-0.
A sore one for Neil McCann at Kelly on it.
As a baton, he tried to say that there was they deserved more or whatever, but.
And he's got to, I think, nearly, obviously, for his perspective. But what job he's doing, isn't he? Motherwell, like... I actually thought, I wondered when Stephen Welsh went back, how it would affect him. Mm-hmm. But obviously Elliot Watt's missed a couple of games as well, do you know what I mean? So you sometimes think that if they're on this good run in their personnel and all of a sudden they get a wee bit of bad luck when it comes to injuries, same as Hearts with Shanklin, with Devlin, yet still maintain going toe-to-toe with the champions as such. So listen, I'm loving it, man. It doesn't get any better. It's
brilliant, and then Aberdeen obviously got a good result, I know.
Got it for Davy Martindale, I know.
Davy boy.
Got it for Davy. I know, it's I think, and Aberdeen have in hindsight struggled to. A lot of when I hear Willie Millers and that talking, they need a number 9 and they need this to go and score 6 goals. I'll do them the world of good, and another huge club. Intriguing because you think we're talking about the top end of the pitch, the bottom end of the pitch is just as intriguing. There's the wee gap starting to create. So when you think of Stephen Robinson, already a cup in the bag, coming under a wee bit of
Who do
pressure.
you think's going down?
I think it's hard to get away from the two at the bottom at the moment. I think
I can't see any way back.
I wouldn't bet against
me.
Davy Martindale, but I cannot see anything other than obviously Killie have been in a wee bit of free fall. So changing the manager, you hope for that kind of that wee bounce, and I've got no doubt that Neely and Doddsy are doing everything they possibly can. But to go to Motherwell and get beat 4, which is obviously not an easy place to go in their current form and how good they've been, but you just wonder how much that will impact their confidence moving forward.
I think it's a tough one for Neil McCann and Dodgy. Obviously a difficult job coming out in these circumstances, but struggled with goalkeepers. The big man's been injured all season and he was very good for them.
I thought when they were obviously going to get Finn Curtis over the line, a player that they obviously know we've been back at the club, he would have been a great acquisition.
I thought he was done.
And I thought obviously the media outlets looked as though it was done, but he obviously I was at Ibrox on Sunday, obviously come on as a sub, so whether the Shermiti bit is they're holding fire or maybe they've had a couple of fingers in different pies, Rangers, regarding maybe a front player or two, and they've maybe not got deals over the line, so they've maybe then changed their narrative with Finlay. But I certainly thought it would have done him the world of good, and I actually thought he would have been a good foil for Kilmarnock. Do you know what I mean? He's got the speed to get in behind, he sniffs out a goal, he's coach's dream, brilliant lad, and it would have been good for his development individually playing every week.
They're desperate for goals, aren't they? So we're going to go to some viewers' questions, man. I like this bit. I like to hear what people like to.
I cannot believe how many people have interacted on social media.
It's been so good, by the way. Get your questions in every week. We love answering them. Anything, any detail. Somebody asked how often do you bleed your
you always get
radiators?
You always get one trumpet, don't you?
I wouldn't know where to start there.
I have to say that the detail for people has been even when I was at Ibrox on Sunday, the amount of people are saying loving the podcast and the chemistry between you and Big Charlie. I'm like, well, it's about the only thing we've got chemistry, because you've got a head full of hair, I've got none. You're about 8 foot 2, I'm 5 foot 4.
Terry Butcher's
You go skiing. I walk the dogs.
Right, go for it, Dave.
Right, the first one's from Callum Kelly. What would you guys do if the leagues were reconstructed? Because playing each team 4 times a season can become boring. So what would you do?
What would we do with
I think it's boring, but I do get the bit that you play four teams, and then you could. I think there was a wee narrative off the back of that Hearts have obviously took points off of Celtic and Rangers. They've took points off of Hearts. If they'd only played day teams, because obviously that's twice they've played Celtic, twice they've played Rangers, 12 points. They've took 3 off of Hibs, and then they've lost 3 obviously. So like head to heads in a title race, if it was only 38 games, if there was a bit like obviously the English Premier League down the road, they would be a tough nut to crack, because they could potentially, I know that's like flying a kite, because they could have dropped points against everybody else.
But how many good games we're going to get this year with the split with Hearts?
I just think it's I know, and it's the climax. But then you think you like the big clubs like Dunfermline, you like over 10,000 in the Scottish Cup against Hibs just last week. You think you like Falkirk's journey now back in the Premier League. I think there's always an argument that you need to earn it. You need to earn the right to get to the Premier League, but I wouldn't be against one day looking like as a 16-team league.
What teams would jump up? You get Dunfermline,
loads of big clubs in
Partick Thistle.
Partick Thistles, you've got Ayers,
Wraiths,
but like you've got then aspirations of teams like an Arbroath, who David Gold and are doing a brilliant job. I watched the game Friday night. Well, some of the game Friday night when Jordy told me to flick on, the wind was horrendous. But like a part-time team that maybe they have certain backers that maybe one day they have the aspirations of going full-time if they get to the Premier League. They then get the big crowds for the big travelling supports or whatever. Hospitality goes a wee bit extra. Do you know what I mean? So it might allow them to have a bigger budget. All these wee things. So I think I've always thought I would never be against it. I just don't know how you would restructure it, because it's not something I've looked into.
See, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but I think you can, the teams we've just named there, could add them into the Premiership, and hopefully more exciting Premiership, bigger teams, bigger pool, less than the 4 games against each other. So without knowing too much about it, it's not my area of expertise, but I would say I make the league bigger. Why not?
Yeah, I just think the other part is that I'm quite passionate about. I do think there would be obviously less pressure on potentially quite a bulky teams, because you could maybe be finishing, let's just say you were finishing 8th in a 16-team league, quite safe for relegation, maybe not quite getting into a top 8, maybe not playing European football, but it might then allow younger players to flourish, as in homegrown players. It might allow certain managers to have a wee bit more impetus on putting younger players in, less pressure, not going to lose their job as quick, less expectation of finishing top of the league or not getting relegated, and a safer team, if you know what I mean.
Based on what you're saying there, I think there should be a rule in place where it makes young lads have to be on the pitch.
Aye. I think that I definitely think that would be a positive in it, but I also hear a lot of people saying, like, when you think like East Kilbride have obviously put money in, you've seen a Queen's Park go on a journey for being an amateur team to then obviously going professional. Willie Hockey behind the scenes putting money into Queen's Park and their academy growing, the facilities going, like Lockhange Park is brilliant now. I've been in and seen the offices when Stevie McLean was the manager. Like, so there's loads of brilliant clubs out there that have got people behind the scenes that might have aspirations of putting their money in and trying to allow these teams to grow. It was a bit the same when I was obviously at Kelty. Do you know what I mean? Someone that was willing to put money in to try and bring some sort of success and have a certain style, blah blah blah. But no, I think it's I'm one that likes to see people do well, and if there's a real push for it, then it's certainly
Extend
something I
the
would
league.
do
We're
against.
saying extend the league. What else you got, Dave?
Okay, so a question from Peter here. So, do you think Nonsi lost the dressing room at Celtic? And if so, do players actually down tools in some instances and get managers sacked? Like, if they say they're incompetent, do they just sort of like give up and try and get the manager sacked?
So
we covered a wee bit of that last week, didn't we?
I think Nonsi lost the change room within a few sessions and began to lose it and definitely lost it after a game or two. And I think that players don't, in my opinion, I don't think players say, right, I'm not trying, I'm down in tools. I don't think that happens. My opinion is players get disheartened and they get confused about the message their manager's giving them. They don't feel a connection with their manager. All of a sudden, they don't run through brick walls from. I know that's a sort of cliche statement, but as in they don't run as hard. They don't understand the message, so they're confused. They look a bit stressed on the pitch. They all of a sudden look less fit. Don't look as energetic. And it's not a case of going, I'm down in tools, I'm not trying, it's my ball, I'm not playing. I don't believe that. What do you think?
Nah, I totally agree. But like we talk about like having confidence, the management part for a manager. So like it's not just about, I didn't believe in the tactics, I'm not trying hard in training today. It's like, I think every player tries hard in training. Every player wants to try and be the best they can be. It's their life. But you also end up in scenarios where like you maybe feel as though you've not been treated quite right, or you're in the team, out the team, you lose a bit of confidence. Your performances haven't been, the fan pressure gets a wee bit on it. The scrutiny that you come under. The next part is trying to get in the team. You might be a young right back at Rangers, Nathan Patterson, trying to get in front of James Tavernier as the captain of the club. Like, there's it's not just about what happened in an hour and a half. It's how you eat, how you sleep. You know what I mean? Like, and I think confidence is a huge thing. So without obviously knowing Wilfred Nanford, I'm only looking for outside in, is he maybe lost a wee bit of the boys' confidence and giving them that clarity. And the obvious one is like a Liam Scales being a brilliant defender and all of a sudden him ending up in the left wing area, which is, I think we were both in agreement that was quite an unnatural thing for him. So I'm not so sure he would have got a buy-in for Liam Scales. He would have done it for him, hence the reason why he ended up in the positions, but I'm not so sure he's quite believing it. The fact that Callum McGregor is a wonderful football player and his career speaks volumes for itself, for him to continue to go to the manager to ask different questions on whether he's doing the right things or the wrong things, or what he wants within that, it makes me question a wee bit of the clarity that the manager was actually
I
presenting to the players.
I also think if you win games, you get confidence. Danny Rowe right now is keeping clean sheets, so the front players at Rangers know we're not going to concede. If we score in the hour bit, we'll win games. So I think you'll only see Rangers getting better in terms of the front area because they've got a belief that they can keep clean sheets now. I think when you're conceding and you're not winning games, you lose confidence. It's nothing to do with down in tools. As you say, the big word's confidence.
Yeah, 100%.
Dave, next one.
Good question, that.
Here's another one from Rachel. So, do you guys have any like rituals before you played or anything? The morning of the game, the night before?
I certainly didn't like blowing up balloons and standing on them.
Big into your blood.
So when I was young, I used to always clean shave.
Did you?
Always used to clean shave. Sorry, that's a lie. When I was younger, I never used to shave, clean shave. That's the total opposite of what I was meant to say there. And then when I hurt my knee, when I was a young player, I decided that I felt a bit sorry for myself and it wasn't about superstition and doing different things. So, but it's funny, when I was at Kelty, I went back on Saturday and I popped in to see Tam and Tids because I was doing the game on Saturday night, and I was sitting through in the back office, which I never used to have, and Tam went to do his obviously team talk before the boys were obviously going out, whatever it was, 45 minutes before they went to warm up or whatever, and he went to do his final part. So Tid was like, we'll be back in a minute. He was like, you staying? I'm staying. He's like, he says, you remember what you used to do when you used to walk about to address the players? He's like, you used to like kick your toe into the AstroTurf obviously in the changing room. And he was like, can you remember doing that? And I was like, aye. And he's like, did you mean to do that? I was like, I don't know. I said, but can you remember what else I used to do? And he's like, no. I was like, well, know how like you bad, and obviously I shouldn't promote this, but you know, like when you're on your phone, and I'm on it too often, I hate being on my phone too much, but you get like a wee indent in your finger, and I used to put tape round my pinky when I used to play. When I used to do my team talks, I don't know if anyone's got it on camera, but or a photo of me, but I used to put a bit of tape, you know, just inch tape that players will put around their socks or around their shinnies or whatever. I used to put it around my pinky, and I used to like, you know how it gets a bit sticky? I used to like rub it.
When you were talking?
Aye, I don't know why. I don't know if it was a comfort blanket. Not well. You know better than anyone. It's such a naked place to be in front of a group of people doing a team talk, good, bad, and indifferent, and getting your message.
One naked.
You should just picture that, and then you wouldn't get scared of anything. But I used to do that, and Tiz was like laughing, obviously. But I was, I loved that party, like thinking of different ways of trying to motivate.
I used to have a routine. I don't know if you say a ritual, but it was like I would always eat at the same time. I would always at night games. I would always have a nap, an hour and a half or 2 hours before a night game. I would eat the same thing. It was like more of a routine in which I followed.
That's like a habit, though, isn't it?
Aye, like a habit, just a kind of habit. It wasn't like a superstition or a something that I thought would make me better. But I used to just kind of have a routine and stick to it. Kind of pasta pre-match meal, shower at the same time before I then get ready into my tracksuit to go down into the.
He's always tracky. Never suited and booted.
Cup finals would be suited and
booted.
Aye, but under Neil Lennon, but no.
You were always just suited and booted, obviously at Rangers. I hated suited and booted. I liked it, but I hated it at the same time, if you know what I mean. I liked how smart the lads looked, and it was traditional, so it was non-negotiable. But
I would have no coffee the day of a night game.
No coffee?
No coffee the day of until I woke up from my sleep. And then I would have my first coffee of the day, so it was almost like my day was starting then.
I hate afternoon sleeps for night games.
Did you?
I used to always feel like a bag of shit.
I love them.
I had great going for the sleep, but it was getting up and see my biggest ritual that I would have just like to wake up in the morning at 8 o'clock in the morning and bypass all the pre-match, all the hanging about, all the travel, and just literally roll out my bed, put my bits on and go and play.
When you say pre-match, just for people who won't know what that is, it's a pre-match meal you have 3 hours before the game.
Obviously not every club, obviously different clubs. I never had pre-match like at every club that we're at, but a lot of them, and obviously when you get to Premier League, a lot of them do it, but there was still clubs that I was at, like Middlesbrough. Tony Mowbray scrapped it when we were at Middlesbrough because the boys felt like they're hanging about too long at the Riverside. Would you rather just come in at 1 o'clock?
Yeah.
Team talk will be 1:30. Obviously, you would still report it 12:30, quarter to 1 anyway. But that meant that you could have your breakfast, you could eat. Yeah. You could have a longer lie in your own bed or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like if you were in for say 11:30 for a 11:45 pre-match, a meal, you would maybe get to the Riverside at like 11 o'clock. Mm-hmm. You know, playing at 3 o'clock. It was like. So I just think it's a personal. But sometimes it's driven off the manager, obviously, and you've not got a choice as a player.
Good question. Cool. Dave?
Here's another one from Ali Dixon. So, Rangers have Hibs away, Motherwell away, and Hearts at home over the next couple of weeks.
Seen this one.
Which game do you think will be the hardest of the three? And if they make it through those games, winning all three, do you think Rangers will be favourites for the title?
I think they are favourites for the title, Dave. That's my humble opinion.
So who they go?
They've got Hibs away,
on Sunday,
away, and Hearts at home over the next couple of weeks.
Huge.
Big 3. I think we're saying this every week, but it's big for them.
Huge. Am I right in saying they've maybe got a European game in between? Maybe the last two.
Thursday in Portugal again. Porto they're playing, and then they're back again at Easter Road on Sunday.
So the travel, do you know what I mean? So a wee test of resolve and a wee test of
they 3 league games.
Huge.
What would you take right now? How many points would you take?
I'd want 9, obviously, but.
What would you take though?
But as a debater, I suppose, or a podcaster,
would
now
you
we
take
can
7?
call ourselves. I think Danny Rowe would take 7, but my mentality is to have 9, obviously. But I actually think when I looked at it, when I seen that question come through, I thought, because always kind of like looking week to week, if you know what I mean.
I don't think they're getting 9.
By the way, I wouldn't bet against them though. I wouldn't bet against them. I actually think Hibs, because of the kind of hatred between Hibs and Rangers, I think stemming through the kind of championship time, a lot of animosity between the two clubs. It never used to be as bad when I was growing up. It used to just always be Hibs and Hearts. But anyway, the kind of rivalry that Hibs and Rangers have now got, I think it naturally makes it a difficult game for Rangers to go there. Hibs only flying, but I don't think that matters. Still think it'll be a hard game, but the one thing that I would say about this Rangers team is I cannot see them going anywhere and getting turned over because of the clean sheets they're having, because they look harder to beat.
There'll be tight games, you can guarantee there'll probably be tight games.
I don't think there'll be a lot in it, but they've also found ways of putting the ball in the back of the net, Rangers, and winning games, hence the reason eight wins on the bounce. But I think if Rangers can get through these 3 games specifically with maximum points, I think 1-0 obviously potentially, well, they will be at the top of the league, or potentially top of the league. They will be at the top of the league, but they potentially be at the top of the league. And I think they would then be a tough nut to crack. I think if they don't get through these 3 games, then it throws the cat in amongst the pigeons again, because drop points could then allow Celtic back in the back door. It could then allow Hearts to, if Hearts beat Rangers and end up going a bigger gap between the two chasers.
I think a good outcome for Rangers in these 3 games would be 7 points. I don't think they'll get more than 7 points.
So many permutations, I suppose. But
what's the other part of that question, Dave?
Just to be
basically,
favourites
if they go through them, if they win each of the games, will they be favourites for the title?
Just depends what.
You still didn't want to say their favourite. If they get 9 points out of the 3 games, they've got to be favourites.
That's too tight. It just depends.
I think
it's week to week. It just depends what happens with
the bookies
Celtic.
Have got it tight in there. I think the bookies have still got Hearts just in front, and then I think like Celtic and Rangers are kind of joint second favourites, or thereabouts. So
it's too tight. It's too tight to say.
What the question doesn't say is it's Rangers and Celtic at Ibrox
after
the game after. Yeah.
Again, we'll be sitting here after the 3 games going, the favourites, whoever wins this. It's huge. It's hard to say for me. Next one, Dave.
Here's the next one. It's a really good question from David Ross. So he says, with Celtic being so dominant for years and fans' expectations up high, do you think there's more pressure in Celtic not to lose the title rather than pressure on Hearts and Rangers to win it?
I agree with that. I agree that Celtic, the light will be shone on Celtic a lot more. I think there's a lot more expectation for the fans. I think Rangers are sort of coming up the outside lane. We know a lot of pressure on them because none of their fans expected to win the league, especially after the start they had. I think Hearts have never been in this position, so the fans are obviously sudden saying, well, it's a bonus we're here. I think there's a big pressure on Celtic, and if they don't win it, but there'll be a big backlash, whereas if Hearts don't win it, they'll still get a pat in the back. If Rangers don't win it, it'll be a great start for Danny Rowe, and let's see what happens next year. So I agree with that. I think there's a lot of pressure, more pressure on Celtic.
No, I'd echo what you say there, really. I couldn't really add to that. I agree. Good question. Hard to think that Celtic have won, 12 or 13 titles in the last 13 or 14. Trebles, lots and lots of success, but I think a lot of people get away from the fact, like, when it kind of, I feel as though Celtic fans think they've kind of took their eye off the ball. Unless I'm not a Celtic fan, but I feel as though like to get Brendan back was a huge scalp, really, for the profile that he is as a manager. The breathtaking football Ange Postecoglou played, and then like for Brendan to then spend the best part of 10+ million on Engels, another 9 million on Ida. Like, it's not as though there's no been investment there.
I think the last couple of windows, somebody asked a question: if Celtic had signed players while they were on top, would they be far ahead in the title race? I can't remember who asked the question, but it was a question asked. I think there's no doubt about it. But then the big signings and that money doesn't guarantee you that they're going to thrive at Celtic Park. But I think there's no doubt about it. If it had been invested well, and even players had been sold at the right time, maybe made as.
I sense the narrative within the Celtic fans that they've kind of stood still a wee bit, and it's potentially now going to bite them in the backside, which is, I don't think it's an unfair reflection of what's going on. But listen, they still could get to the climax of the season and be successful, so And then how will that narrative change? Because I don't think Martin O'Neill's stock is ever going to, off the back of this season, is ever going to drop. I think he'll always be as highly thought of as ever, really. So I just think it's for us, for our perspective, it's an intriguing one, isn't it? Because you say is that like kind of Rangers coming on the blind side under Danny Rowe, Hearts never been in this position before at this stage of the season, been top obviously before, because I played against that Hearts team that won, I think, their first 10 games on the bounce, or 10 wins in 11. I think we were the first team to beat them at Easter Road under Tony Mowbray. So there's been teams, I think John Collins' Hibs team at one stage, up just short of Christmas, were nearly top of the league as well. So it's been done before, but
no after 20 odd
no
games.
after 20,
in my
20
lifetime
22
anyway.
games. Aye.
But always listen to another great podcast. Thanks for watching. Get your comments in. Let us know if any improvements, anything you want to see. But again, mate, thanks for
Amazing, loved it.
Brilliant.
Loved it.
Cheers.